Welcome back to JForrest English. I'm Jennifer, and today I have a reading exercise for you to help you improve your English pronunciation. First, I'm going to read an article in full from start to finish, and you can focus on my pronunciation. Next, I'm going to read one sentence at a time, and I'm going to pronounce some of the more difficult words so you can imitate my pronunciation. I'll read the sentence again, and when I do this, you can read the sentence out loud and imitate my pronunciation. Does that sound like fun? So now I'll read the article in full from start to finish. Let's get started. The electric car revolution. Is it realistic or optimistic? Governments and motor manufacturers around the world are throwing money and resources into the development of electric vehicles. But can electric power really replace the internal combustion engine before the middle of the century? Maybe it can, but this is by no means certain. Electric vehicles have arrived. With technology led by Tesla and all of the world's major car manufacturers following along behind, electric vehicles are now a common sight on the roads of most developed countries. Yet the situation in less developed countries is rather different. The only African country to have started the change to electric vehicles is South Africa, and even there, electric vehicles still account for less than 0.01% of the total number of cars on the roads. In South America, the situation is better, with all Latin American countries beginning the move towards electric vehicles, particularly Colombia, which in 2020 had a third of the continent's total electric car fleet. In Russia, the wealthy are investing in imported electric cars, but no electric cars are yet manufactured locally. While in India, the government is promoting the purchase of electric vehicles with tax exemptions and other incentives. So electric cars have arrived, and their share of the market is increasing almost worldwide. Does this mean, therefore, that the world is on track to phase out the use of gas-driven vehicles in less than 30 years? And does it mean that electric vehicles are the sustainable solution to our transport needs for the second half of the century? Unfortunately, to the disappointment of some people, the answer to both of these questions has to be no. The massive development of electric vehicles can only be possible if two conditions are met. Firstly, the expansion of electric vehicle manufacturing is dependent on the fragile ability of manufacturers to source vastly increased quantities of vital components and elements without which electric vehicles cannot operate. Secondly, few countries currently have electricity grids that are anywhere near being able to cope with the huge increase in demand for electricity that will accompany any rapid growth in electric vehicle ownership. Without adequate supplies of all the vital ingredients of electric motors and batteries, or without power supplies that are able to provide the electricity needed to recharge millions of electric batteries every day, as well as supplying the current we need for everything else, such as lighting, heating, trains, and electric devices, the electric car revolution will run up against insoluble problems. Governments and vehicle manufacturers are fully aware of these issues, but the consensus among policymakers seems to be that somehow technology will come up with the answers, as it often has in the past. Analysts also predict that changing social attitudes and environmental awareness will lead to a reduction in private vehicle use and a fall in the numbers of vehicles on the roads. This prediction is likely to be right, though not necessarily for those reasons alone. Any shortage of essential components will force up the cost of electric vehicles, and any shortage of battery recharging facilities or capacity will discourage people from buying electric vehicles, leading to a fall in the number of vehicles on the roads. Ultimately, the success of the transition to electric-powered vehicles will depend on advances in technology in three fields: the weight of batteries, the amount of power that they can produce, and the speed at which they can be recharged or exchanged. Now I'll read each sentence from the article, and I'm also going to highlight the more difficult words. So I'll read the sentence in full once, then I'll focus on some specific words. When you see me do this, put my hand up, that means that it's your turn to read the highlighted sentence out loud. If you're in a private room, read out loud because it will really help with your pronunciation. So remember, first I'll read, and when I go like this, it's your turn to read it out loud. Let's get started. The electric car revolution. Is it realistic or optimistic? Optimistic. Optimistic. The electric. The electric. The electric car revolution. Is it realistic or optimistic? Governments and motor manufacturers around the world are throwing money and resources into the development of electric vehicles. Manufacturers. 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 Vehicles. 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 Governments and motor manufacturers around the world are throwing money and resources into the development of electric vehicles. But can electric power really replace the internal combustion engine before the middle of the century? Combustion. 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 Internal combustion engine. But can electric power really replace the internal combustion engine before the middle of the century? Maybe it can, but this is by no means certain. 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 Maybe it can, but this is by no means certain. Electric vehicles have arrived. With technology led by Tesla and all of the world's major car manufacturers following along behind, electric vehicles are now a common sight on the roads of most developed countries. Developed. 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 Electric vehicles are now a common sight on the roads of most developed countries. Yet the situation in less developed countries is rather different. The only African country to have started the change to electric vehicles is South Africa. And even there, electric vehicles still account for less than 0.01% of the total number of cars on the roads. In South America, this situation is better, with all Latin American countries beginning the move towards electric vehicles. particularly Colombia, which in 2020 had a third of the continent's total electric car fleet. Particularly Colombia, which in 2020 had a third of the continent's total electric car fleet. In Russia, the wealthy are investing in imported electric cars. Investing in imported. Investing in imported. Investing in imported. In Russia, the wealthy are investing in imported electric cars. But no electric cars are yet manufactured locally. Manufactured. But no electric cars are yet manufactured locally. While in India, the government is promoting the purchase of electric vehicles with tax exemptions and other incentives. Exemptions. Incentives. While in India, the government is promoting the purchase of electric vehicles with tax exemptions and other incentives. So electric cars have arrived, and their share of the market is increasing almost worldwide. Does this mean, therefore, that the world is on track to phase out the use of gas-driven vehicles in less than 30 years? On track to phase out. On track to phase out. On track to phase out. Does this mean, therefore, that the world is on track to phase out the use of gas-driven vehicles in less than 30 years? And does it mean that electric vehicles are the sustainable solution to our transport needs for the second half of the century? Sustainable solution. Sustainable solution. And does it mean that electric vehicles are the sustainable solution to our transport needs for the second half of the century? Unfortunately, to the disappointment of some people, the answer to both of these questions has to be no. The massive development of electric vehicles can only be possible if two conditions are met. Development. The massive development of electric vehicles can only be possible if two conditions are met. Firstly, the expansion of electric vehicle manufacturing is dependent on the fragile ability of manufacturers Firstly, the expansion of electric vehicle manufacturing is dependent on the fragile ability of manufacturers to source vastly increased quantities of vital components and elements without which electric vehicles cannot operate. Vital, vital, vital. To source vastly increased quantities of vital components and elements without which electric vehicles cannot operate. Secondly, few countries currently have electricity grids. Electricity grids. Electricity grids. Secondly, few countries currently have electricity grids. That are anywhere near being able to cope with the huge increase in demand for electricity. That will accompany any rapid growth in electric vehicle ownership. Accompany, accompany, accompany. That will accompany any rapid growth in electric vehicle ownership. Without adequate supplies of all the vital ingredients of electric motors and batteries, adequate, quit, quit, adequate, adequate. Without adequate supplies of all the vital ingredients of electric motors and batteries. Or without power supplies that are able to provide the electricity needed to recharge millions of electric batteries every day. Recharge. Recharge. Or without power supplies that are able to provide the electricity needed to recharge millions of electric batteries every day. As well as supplying the current we need for everything else, such as lighting, heating, trains, and electric devices. The electric car revolution will run up against insoluble problems. Insoluble, insoluble, insoluble. The electric car revolution will run up against insoluble problems. Governments and vehicle manufacturers are fully aware of these issues. But the consensus among policymakers seems to be that somehow technology will come up with the answers. Consensus. 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 But the consensus among policymakers seems to be that somehow technology will come up with the answers. As it often has in the past. Often. Often. As it often has in the past. Analysts also predict that changing social attitudes and environmental awareness will lead to a reduction in private vehicle use. And a fall in the numbers of vehicles on the roads. This prediction is likely to be right. Prediction, diction, prediction. This prediction is likely to be right. Though not necessarily for those reasons alone. Any shortage of essential components will force up the cost of electric vehicles. And any shortage of battery recharging facilities or capacity will discourage people from buying electric vehicles. Leading to a fall in the number of vehicles on the roads. Ultimately, the success of the transition to electric-powered vehicles will depend on advances in technology in 3 fields. Powered, powered. Ultimately, the success of the transition to electric-powered vehicles will depend on advances in technology in 3 fields. The weight of batteries, the amount of power that they can produce, and the speed at which they can be recharged or exchanged. So what did you think about this lesson? Did you enjoy it? Was it useful? I've never made a lesson like this before. This is my first time, so if you'd like me to keep making lessons like this, well then put yes in the comments below. And also, if you have any suggestions on how I can improve this lesson, because again, this is my first time making this lesson, so I'd like to know if you like it. Yes. And even if you do like it, how can I make this lesson better? So share your thoughts in the comments below. And you can get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. You can download it from my website right here or look for the link in the description. And now you can get started with your next lesson.